Okay folks, I've got this thing sprayed down with oven cleaner, getting ready to pressure wash, and we're going to try to wash the inside of that block out also. A couple things. I was reading the post the other night, and brown carp, I appreciate it, he come on there and said something about the size of the freeze plug. This thing had 1 3/4 in it, and it had a new one on the dash, and he had mentioned that they're supposed to have 1 49 64ths, and so I decided to do some research, and he was absolutely correct. So they had the wrong ones anyway, or one of the wrong ones in it. So I've got the right ones, and then also after doing my research I realized that this thing only takes 6. There's none in the back of the block. You got a cam plug in the center, but that's it. But it don't go into the water jacket. So we have no worries if we can get this thing sealed up on the sides with our new freeze plug. So and I've got some more parts, so I've got to get this carburetor covered up. Might spray this thing down one more time with oven cleaner, and we're going to try to get it all cleaned out. So I'll show you as we go. Got about as clean as we're going to get it. You see some of the pink on the firewall. We got the sun behind us. Came back, but you could see they painted the firewall all the way down black. So they may have done that when the engine was out. Somebody definitely did not like the pink on this car. So anyway, we're pretty clean, as clean as we're going to get, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to let it dry out underneath a little bit before I get up under there and do the freeze plugs. But I am going to go ahead and do the fuel pump and go ahead and get started up top here. Water pump, flush the engine out really well, so no problems there. Actually flushed the heater core out while I was at it. Good green antifreeze come out of it, so I'm hoping it's going to be okay, and we'll just slowly start putting this thing together. But another thing I'm doing while I'm working on this thing, I'm spraying some different stuff on here and hitting it with the pressure washer, trying to get some of this paint off. And one thing I noticed, you know, I don't have any, don't get me wrong, I don't have any high expectations for this thing coming out like a beautiful car, and I just want to get it down to where there's some of the paint there. I'd rather, you know, have the old patinaed look than have just this crappy brown looking paint they got on it. So anyway, I wanted to show you, it looks like that this thing is pink, but it was painted black afterwards and then painted the brown. So you know, we got black paint coming through everywhere, and just tried, like I said, a few different things. I'm going to go ahead and keep spraying it. I tried some oven cleaner, let it sit on a little while. When I sprayed it, I could tell that there was paint coming off, but not enough to get in through all the layers. I'm going to try the spray stripper on it and see if that'll work, and just keep messing with it until I can figure out a way of trying to get most of it. I'd like to get the brown off, maybe let it clash between black and pink or something like that, and we'll just keep at it, messing with it. The roof, I think I'm going to go ahead and repaint white, and I may just rattle can it, we'll see. But anyway, we'll keep at that and keep it getting the engine together here. Okay, we got, let me see, plugs in, plug wires on, striper cap, rotor button. They sent me the wrong points, which don't surprise me. So I'm going to see if I can get it set local. Radiators in, water pump, fuel pump, got the coil on, and let me see. I did see something. Let me show you. Just so in case anybody has any questions, we know for sure that it's a 352. Unless they had that on all the blocks. But anyway, definitely 352 anyway. But we're coming along. Didn't get anything done on the bottom side, but I guess that'll be next. And then we'll wrap up all these hoses and everything and finish up. And then it leaves me pulling the carburetor off, going on building it. And it was working. Accelerator pump ain't working, so we'll just go through and spray it out, you know, blow it out good, clean it. And then we got some wiring issues, just need to put some ends on and stuff. So, and let me see, one more thing. Alright, while working on it, I noticed after we pressure washed that we're missing the shims on this side. So I've got some shims I'm going to stick in there back to the size that they've got it at right there, and then I'll end up taking this thing, no, that's not a crack, but end up taking this thing to a buddy of mine, Matthew's Alignment in Sanford there. He's been doing lineups there for Probably since I was born. But anyway, he likes the old school stuff, so I'll take it to him and get him to line the front end up on it, make sure it's right so we don't wear no tires out. And I think we got lucky with the that one might have, I might have knocked some holes in that with a pressure washer. I might have to put some tape on that. Anyway, the ducting. But okay, all right, it's time to knock in some freeze plugs, expansion plugs. And I would have rather went with brass, but nobody had any available local, so I had to go with steel. I guess they'll be all right. All right, so a lot of people wanted to know why I didn't just pull the engine out of this car. And if I would have done what I'd like to have done, I'd have pulled the engine out. Here's my problem. I get carried away at stuff. And if I would have pulled this engine out, you know, I either would have tore it down and then end up having to go all the way through it and rebuild it, because where do you stop? You know, timing chain, well, go ahead and put a cam in it, and then might as well go ahead and do rings and bearings, and you know, I get carried away like that. And then, or I could have pulled the engine out and then said, well, I've got a 4.6 in that Mercury that fuel injected, it'd be nice in here. Could have put it in, and then I think, well, I'd need power steering and disc brakes and power brakes, so I just as well put a, you know, a Crown Vic clip under it, and then this car would be in a million pieces, and with the time I have, I wouldn't be able to have time to get it back together. I've just got way too much going on, so that's the reason I didn't pull the engine out. I wanted to leave it in and just do everything in it, and that's what we're doing. So it's not that I didn't want to, it's that I just couldn't. And thank goodness my body don't listen to my mind, and because in my mind I would have had it all tore apart. But, so we're going to try to get these plugs in and then get the motor mounts on. We'll get the engine back down into place, then I can start putting my radiator hoses and stuff. All right, there we go. All right, got all three of these in, and move to the other side. We'll get them done and get the motor mounts on. Well, I might try to fight the starter in there first, because that starter is tight because it's got the pull-in Bendix instead of the push, so it's kind of a aggravation to get up in there. I didn't get my my power wire that I need to get for that starter yet, but I'll just have to live with it, I guess. And I'm not going to live with that, but I'm going to live with being hard to put it on after the starter's on. But at least get it in there where I can spin it around and get to it or something like that. But anyway, let's jump to the other side and get them in. And luckily I left the spring out, or I didn't put the springs in yet, so I was able to get right in there to that one. The only one that's kind of hard to get to was the center one, but we've got it in. And this one was easy. So we'll see how the other side turns out. All right, there we go. New engine mounts, all new freeze plugs. I got the starter back up in. I don't have the bolts in it because I'm going to turn it around where I can get to that wire and replace it. And I ended up having to loosen up, probably can't see it, it's dark under here, but I had to loosen up the transmission mount and actually slide the engine forward about 1/4 of an inch. It was back, and got that taken care of. So we're all done with all that. We need to drain the oil, change the filter, and we're no longer touching we can actually get our fingers between there now, so that's over a 1/2 inch higher than it was. So she's looking good. Alright, so it's starting to get dark a little bit, so I'm probably going to call it a night, but we've got quite a bit done. And shouldn't be too much longer here. We'll have this thing where we can try it out, drive it around, take it down the road, and check things out. I've got to pick up some radiator hose clamps or heater hose clamps. I should have some around here somewhere, but all the hoses will be new, and that's about it. I've still got to pick up the points. Like I said, they sent me the wrong ones. I don't know about my coil. It kind of, I'm gonna go back online and look tonight. It don't say whether it's internal or external resistor, and if it's external resistor, it's gonna run too hot and probably burn it up. Oh, wait a minute. While I was sitting here talking, I think I see a resistor. I don't know if that's a ignition resistor or something else, but it looks like one. So maybe that is a external resistor. We'll check it out and see. But anyway, basically what it comes down to is the coil works on 6 volts. And if it's a 12 volt coil and it's non-external resistor, then it will have a internal resistor in it. And then it should say on the coil whether they are or not, and this one don't. You know, one that have an external resistor will, it'll, you know, still 12 volt coil, but you've got to run a resistor before you get to it, and that cuts the voltage in half to 6 volts. So you'll burn your coil up, and then if it's got an internal resistor and then you run an external too, it's gonna should put 3 volts to it. But you know, anyway, what we're going to do is we'll test it out, see if that under that wiper motor is actually a external resistor. But engine's looking good, and it actually does look like it, you know, it's forward a little bit from what it was. Of course, it's probably sitting a little different, you know, height wise because of that mount, of course, but just looks better in there. So we'll get back on it, and wish I could have got more done, but I've actually had quite a bit of time today, you know, in comparison to usual. You can't judge what day's going to be busy and what's not in the record business, but I have done some, and I have done some videos on them, and once I get enough together to put one video out, you know, I'll have some wrecks and stuff on it. And still working, trying to figure out that GoPro. I'd done a John Deere tractor yesterday recovery, 4-wheel drive, and a really good, perfect video. Well, I'm sure it was, but I turned the camera off, and the guy decided he wanted me to winch out his bush hog, which he left in there, and he had it unhooked before I got there. So I turned the camera back on to winch the bush hog out, and somehow I got the video of winching a bush hog out of a swamp, but I didn't get the video of the tractor. It erased it somehow. So I'm still trying to figure it out. Kind of aggravating, but it was a really good recovery. But that's the way it goes. There'll be plenty more. So, all right, well, we will keep at this thing, and I'll show you more as I go, and hopefully next video will be at least minimum firing it up. So, all right, appreciate everybody watching, and until next time, bye.